The first thing people laughed at wasn't the cabin. It was what Emily Harper kept digging beneath it. Every evening after finishing work, she disappeared through a small trapdoor in the floor and returned covered in dirt. By autumn, the entire town had invented stories. Some claimed she was digging for gold. Others insisted she'd gone mad after losing her farm. No one guessed the truth. Emily wasn't digging downward. She was building a second home beneath the first. At 32 years old, Emily had learned one lesson the hard way. The greatest danger during a mountain winter wasn't always the cold. Sometimes it was losing access to everything above it. 3 years earlier, an early season blizzard trapped her family inside their old farmhouse for nearly 2 weeks. The snow blocked every door. The woodshed became unreachable. Stored potatoes froze in an outside cellar. Even reaching the livestock became dangerous. Everyone survived. But Emily never forgot how quickly a normal home became a prison. When she eventually moved to a small cabin outside the Colorado town of Pine Hollow, she carried one promise with her. Never again would one blocked doorway decide whether she lived or died. Her cabin stood on a gentle hillside overlooking the valley. It wasn't large, just 2 rooms and a loft. But beneath it lay something unusual. Solid, well-drained ground. No underground springs. No unstable rock. Perfect for digging. That realization sparked an idea. Instead of expanding upward, she expanded downward. Throughout spring, she excavated carefully beneath the cabin. She supported every section with thick timber beams, built stone retaining walls, installed drainage channels leading downhill. Every step took patience. Every measurement mattered. Neighbors noticed immediately. One afternoon, old carpenter Ben Wallace wandered over. "What are you building?" Emily smiled. "A shed." He looked around. "I don't see one." "You will." Weeks later, he finally discovered the trapdoor inside her cabin. He climbed down a sturdy wooden ladder into the earth below. His lantern illuminated a surprisingly spacious room. Stone walls, heavy support beams, shelves carved into the sides, storage bins, firewood racks, a workbench, even a small emergency stove with a carefully constructed chimney rising invisibly through the main fireplace. Ben slowly turned in amazement. "This isn't a shed." "It will be." He looked upward. "It's under the house." "Exactly." He scratched his beard. "I've never seen anything like it." Word spread quickly. Soon nearly everyone in Pine Hollow knew Emily was building an underground shed beneath her cabin. Most people found the idea ridiculous. Why not build beside the house? "It's too much work. She'll bury herself." The jokes came daily. Emily ignored everyone. Construction continued all summer. By August, the underground room doubled in size. One section stored canned food. Another held neatly stacked firewood. Tools hung from wooden racks. Barrels collected drinking water. Blankets filled waterproof chests. The emergency stove warmed the room surprisingly well. Most importantly, a second tunnel exited 30 feet downhill behind a cluster of boulders, hidden beneath brush and carefully disguised logs. If the main cabin became inaccessible, the underground shelter still had another way out. Emily told nobody about the second exit. Not even Ben. Some precautions worked better when kept secret. As autumn approached, she finished the final details. Ventilation shafts, drainage, food storage, well lamps, medical supplies, everything needed to survive weeks underground. Her little cabin now contained 2 homes. One above, one below. One chilly October afternoon, several neighbors visited. Mostly out of curiosity, Emily invited them inside. The blacksmith climbed down first. His eyes widened. "You've got enough food for months." Emily nodded. "That's the idea." Another neighbor examined the stacked firewood. "You'll never use all this." "I hope not." They looked around again. The underground room felt surprisingly dry, comfortable, almost cozy. Yet when they climbed back upstairs, the laughter returned. The blacksmith shook his head. "I still think you've built the world's strangest basement." Emily smiled. "Maybe." That evening, she quietly stocked another shelf with dried beans. By November, the weather changed dramatically. Cold arrived weeks earlier than normal. Morning frost covered everything. Migrating geese flew south in enormous flocks. Hunters reported unusually deep snow already collecting on higher peaks. Old ranchers exchanged worried glances. Winter looked hungry. Then one evening, a familiar visitor arrived. Walter Brakes, 76 years old, former railroad surveyor, mountain traveler. one of the oldest men in Pine Hollow. Walter rarely offered opinions unless something truly concerned him. He carefully examined Emily's underground shelter, tapped support beams, checked ventilation, inspected drainage. Finally, he nodded approvingly. "You built this yourself?" "Mostly." He looked around once more. "You've thought of everything." Emily smiled. "I tried." Walter climbed back into the cabin. Outside, dark clouds stretched across the western mountains. He stared silently for several moments. "What do you see?" Emily asked. He never looked away. "The same sky I saw 30 years ago." She frowned. "What happened then?" Walter answered quietly. "The Great White Winter." Even people too young to remember knew the name. Every family had heard stories. Cabins buried to their rooftops. Roads closed for weeks. Entire valleys isolated. Walter finally looked back toward the trapdoor leading underground. If another winter like that comes. He rested one hand on the sturdy wooden hatch. People will wish they'd laughed a little less. That night the temperature plunged below zero. By dawn, snow had begun falling. At first it looked ordinary, gentle, peaceful. But high above Pine Hollow, storm clouds continued gathering over the mountains. And Emily couldn't shake the feeling that her hidden shed beneath the cabin was about to face the very test it had been built for. The snow continued through the night. By sunrise, Pine Hollow had disappeared beneath a white blanket nearly 3 feet deep. Most people remained calm. Colorado winters often began with heavy snow. But this storm didn't end. It grew. The wind strengthened until it screamed through the pine trees. Snow drifted across roads faster than anyone could clear it. By the second day, wagons could no longer move. By the third, every trail leading into town had vanished. Emily stood on her porch watching the blizzard erase the valley. She noticed something worrying. Snow wasn't just piling around cabins. It was climbing them. The drifts rose against walls, swallowed porches, and pressed heavily against doors. Exactly what she had feared years earlier. She quietly climbed back inside, then opened the trapdoor. The underground shelter waited below. Dry, warm, ready. She carried more blankets downstairs. Extra food, fresh water. The emergency stove already contained stacked kindling. Everything was exactly where she had planned months before. That afternoon came the first knock. It was Ben Wallace. The old carpenter stood outside covered in snow. His beard was frozen white. "I can't get to my woodshed." Emily invited him inside immediately. When he saw the underground shelter again, he slowly smiled. "You really believed this day would come." "I hoped it wouldn't." Ben laughed softly. "But you planned anyway." Together they carried more supplies below. As darkness fell, the wind became terrifying. The cabin groaned beneath powerful gusts. Snow buried the front steps. By morning, the front door barely opened 6 inches before striking solid snow. Emily didn't panic. She expected this. She simply closed the door and climbed through the trapdoor instead. The underground room felt exactly the same as before. Calm, dry, comfortable. The thick earth surrounding it blocked the howling wind completely. The small emergency stove easily warmed the shelter. That afternoon, another desperate family arrived. The Johnsons. Their chimney had collapsed beneath heavy snow. Smoke filled their cabin whenever they lit a fire. Emily welcomed them downstairs. Soon children filled the underground room with quiet conversation. Neighbors who had laughed months earlier now sat around her emergency stove, eating warm stew. No one joked anymore. The fourth day brought the worst snowfall anyone could remember. Drifts reached the cabin windows. The roof disappeared beneath several feet of snow. From inside, daylight barely entered. Ben climbed carefully into the main cabin. He tried opening the front door again. It refused to move. He checked the back. Also blocked. Every window opened only onto solid snow. He climbed back down the ladder. "We're buried." Emily nodded calmly. "Then we leave another way." The room fell silent. "What other way?" Without answering, Emily picked up a lantern. She walked toward the rear corner of the underground shelter, moved several storage boxes aside, lifted a wooden hatch hidden beneath a rug. Everyone stared. A narrow tunnel stretched into darkness. Ben looked at her in complete disbelief. "You built another exit." "I finished it in September." The Johnson children exchanged amazed glances. Emily smiled. "I thought one door wasn't enough." One by one they followed her. The tunnel sloped gently downward. Strong timber supports lined the walls. Fresh air flowed steadily through carefully hidden ventilation shafts. After 30 feet, Emily pushed upward on another concealed hatch. Snow-covered branches lifted. Bright daylight flooded the tunnel. They emerged behind a cluster of enormous boulders halfway down the hillside. The blizzard still raged, but they were outside, far beyond the snow burying the cabin doors. Ben simply stared back toward the hidden entrance. I walked past this place dozens of times. Emily brushed snow from her coat. That was the idea. Word spread surprisingly fast. People trapped in nearby homes began digging toward Emily's cabin. Not for the front door, for the hidden exit behind the boulders. Over the next 2 days, more neighbors reached the shelter. The underground room designed for one family gradually housed nearly 25 people. Fortunately, Emily had planned generously. The shelves remained full. The firewood stayed dry. The emergency stove worked flawlessly. Fresh water flowed through a storage barrel fed by collected snow melted slowly beside the stove. Everyone received work. Children organized supplies. Adults cooked meals. The strongest men expanded sleeping spaces using spare lumber. Nobody wasted time. Outside, the great white winter tightened its grip. The storm lasted 10 days. Then 11. Finally, on the 12th morning, silence replaced the wind. The blizzard had ended. Emily led everyone through the hidden tunnel. When they climbed onto the hillside, no one recognized Pine Hollow. Only rooftops remained visible. Many cabins had vanished almost completely beneath enormous drifts. The road looked like an endless white field. Several barns had collapsed under the weight. Had they depended only on ordinary doors, many families would have remained trapped for days longer. Recovery took weeks. Emily's hidden shed became the center of rebuilding. Its dry storage protected food. Its tools repaired damaged homes. The second tunnel allowed workers to move supplies even while snow still blocked roads. One afternoon, after spring finally returned to the valley, the townspeople gathered outside Emily's cabin. Walter Brake stepped forward carrying a polished cedar plaque. He smiled. "I think this belongs here." Emily accepted it. The carving read, "The hidden shed that saved Pine Hollow." She laughed quietly. It was only a storage room. Walter shook his head. "No." He pointed toward the trapdoor. It became something much greater. Over the following years, builders throughout the region copied Emily's design. New cabins included underground storage rooms. Many added hidden emergency exits leading away from the main house. People no longer laughed at the idea of building beneath a cabin. They called it sensible. Visitors often asked Emily why she spent an entire summer digging a room most people hoped never to use. She always smiled before answering. "The best shelter isn't the one you build after the storm begins." She glanced toward the hidden trapdoor that had saved so many lives. It's the one that's already waiting when everyone else realizes they needed it. And from that winter onward, every new cabin built in Pine Hollow was judged not only by the strength of the roof above it, but also by what waited safely beneath it.